Well, hello, boys and girls. Welcome to SlapperCast, episode 350. This is our weekly talk show with Blaggards. Did you know that we are number one in the rock and roll podcast category? Yeah, don't check it out. Don't. Anyway, we're delighted to have you. This is a spooky edition. We are in Ireland, and we would love to show you more, but you're just going to have to tune in next week to find out more and to see more and to be with us. What you're going to see today is some of the Whip Radio Halloween show that we did, and we're going to show you some more of Ireland. We want you to check back in always and often to blaggards.com and check us out. This is episode 350 of SlapperCast. Delighted to have you along. Hope to see you all very, very, very soon. Stay spooky.
So this is Blaggoween, right?
Yes, it is. Blaggoween, you're correct. We are Blaggards from Houston, Texas. We are just delighted to be doing this for the Whip Radio. We have the Halloween spirit upon us, within us, around us, and we're going to try to infect you with some spooky tunes here on Blaggoween, on the Whip Radio, Backland Radio's finest. How you feeling there, Spooky Smalley?
Pretty damn good. I'm excited to get into these songs. We're allowing ourselves to go way off the beaten path, which is kind of that's kind of our style anyway. We don't strictly play Irish songs all the time anyways, most people know. So this is kind of right up our alley.
Is that what they call it? Is that what the kids call the wheelhouse?
The wheelhouse, yes.
It's not in our wheelhouse.
Yeah.
Yes, my wheelhouse is spooky tonight. It's haunted. It's haunted with some freakishly Halloween sounding tunes, and I'm going to get things rolling. How about that? I'm going to start off with a young fella that you would want to sing any song, anytime, anywhere. His name is Tom Waits, phenomenal artist. And the song that I would like to throw your way is a song called God's Away on Business. And I've always loved Tom Waits' delivery, and I just think that I think he could sing Ring-a-Ring-a-Rosie, and it could sound like a Halloween tune. He is one of those artists.
Oh, that's cool. I haven't heard that one. I'm going to have to look that one up after we finish.
Yes, you won't be disappointed.
Well, the very first song I thought of when Lori asked us to do the show, because my mind always goes to stuff like the Pogues and Thin Lizzy and stuff like that when we're asked to do one of these things, because generally it's what people expect us to talk about. But there's really only, immediately came to mind when she mentioned the Halloween show, and that's Turkish Song of the Damned by the Pogues, which is one of the most, probably the most unabashedly, Halloween song that they did. It's basically just a ghost story. And it is kind of based on the Rime of the Ancient Mariner. It's kind of a similar tale where there's somebody, the dead coming back from the sea to exact their vengeance on the person who they perceive being responsible for them dying. And it's not a direct read of that, but that leads me to another song I was going to talk about, but I decided to spare you the 13 minutes of Rime of the Ancient Mariner by Iron Maiden. But you should listen to that song because it's also a great Halloween story. But anyway, Turkish Song of the Damned is one of the grooviest riffs that the Pogues ever did, and we do play it occasionally, and I've always loved that song. The great lyrics, and it's just also just a great ghost story.
Who plays it? What's the name of that band?
The Pogues.
I was talking about us. We're called Blaggards. We're out of Houston. That's why.
Yes.
I don't know if we have any recordings of us playing that. Do we have any recordings of us playing that song?
We sure do, somewhere.
Oh, we should.
Yeah, we do.
Think about that. All right, well, I'm going to move on, keeping it Irish. I'm going to go with a band called Horselips, one of the pioneers of glam rock, believe it or not, boys and girls. Some of you will be familiar with their stuff. Never made it huge over here in America, but still one of the founders of, just, again, one of these Irish bands that just, they're the heavyweights, one of the heavyweights of Irish rock, Irish Celtic rock, Irish glam rock, Irish folk rock. They have it all covered. They're called Horselips, and the song is Mad Pat. And I don't even know if it's Halloween-ish. The instrumentation could always be that kind of Renaissance / folky / rocky / things that always kind of fit in that Halloween theme to me. Again, do I enjoy Halloween? Yeah, but I certainly enjoy these songs, and they just cannot ever be out of place. But I think it especially fits in the Halloween genre.
All right, next one up, and this is another artist where kind of like, I mean, kind of similar to Black Sabbath and Maiden. There's so many songs that you could pick that would be suitable for Halloween. David Bowie just enjoys being spooky. So he's got a lot of songs that kind of fit this. But one of the ones that it wasn't the first one I thought of, but I decided to go with this because I think it's a little more catchy.
China Girl.
No, Scary Monsters and Super Creeps. And it's just a great song. I'm not even really sure what it's, I always thought it was about like a junkie, like the unhealthy relationship a junkie has with her pusher. But I was just reading about it, and Bowie said it's about a woman spiraling into madness, basically. But it's a great track, and you've got some really blistering guitar work on it from Robert Fripp, and some of the greatest line ratings of Bowie. He sings it in this hard Cockney accent, which he didn't always sing stuff like that. But one of the greatest line ratings, like he says, "Now she's stupid in the street and she can't socialize." It's just great. He's not even really singing some of the stuff in the song. It's just a great line. And this also notably was the last of a long string of records he did with his producer, Tony Pisconti. So the last one they did together for like 20 years until they reunited for Heathen, I think in 2000 or 2001.
Interesting.
But it's a fantastic record just from start to finish. Scary Monsters, the album that the song of the same name is off of, is fantastic. But yeah, check it out.
Side note, do you think that David Bowie used to put on an accent? Do you think that he would thicken his accent in interviews?
In interviews, he probably did. Yeah, I mean, he did naturally have a little bit of a Cockney London accent.
Yeah, I remember seeing it was the release of the album that I'm drawing a blank, the one with 7 on it.
Oh, Hours.
Thank you.
Yeah,
David Letterman. This is probably before your time, kids, but David Letterman was interviewing him, and he had these. He just seemed to be laying it on so thick. I was like, I don't even know if this interview is if he's gonna be able to land this. It seemed like he was just right, but again, such a brilliant storyteller and actor, and just an amazing artist, start to finish, top to bottom. Again, I'm not as big a fan as you are, but I just floored by the enormity of his work. And the thing that shocked me was his ability to, his acting ability. E.g., I saw him work with the comedian Ricky Gervais. I saw his that scene that he worked with him in Extras, and it just floored me. He was so good. And anytime that you kind of walk away and you think, I wonder if there's some tension. It's just so well executed, so well done. So anyway,
yeah.
So yeah, I got to give you that one.
I was going to say Diamond Dogs, because that starts off with that spoken word spooky piece, Future Legend, and in the death as the last, which is great, but it's not really a song. So because Diamond Dogs is a great song too, but I just thought Scary Monsters seemed like a much more. It's just a shoe-in for this. But anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
Again, just to beat the tar out of David Bowie, Cat People does not get near enough. Does not get near enough spotlight. It does Hey, Whip Radio, come on, let's get Cat People played on here 10 times a day. This is a superb number. I mean, Blaggards should be playing this song. This is ridiculous. I think we should just stop right now and just go learn it. Anyway, okay. I digress. I'm going to move on to, I'm nearly embarrassed to pick this song, but I have to because of my childhood, because of the impact it left on my life, the impact it made. It kind of switched my songwriting. Still to this day kind of floors me. It's a song by the Highwaymen called Ghost Riders in the Sky. I still to this day hear songs that directly drink from this well. We used to have an instrumental piece called Blaggards, and one of the main riffs it was an instrumental piece, and it was, we had a bunch of different tunes in it, but the main riff was kind of stolen, borrowed, derived from. But Ghost Riders in the Sky, when the Highwaymen perform this, even when one of them sings it, it just brings back the memory of all of them performing this epic piece. Like The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. The first thing that comes to your mind is that graveyard scene, that just brilliant spaghetti Western. Same thing with Ghost Riders in the Sky by the Highwaymen. It reignites that childhood, those Westerns, and just over and over again. But again, with the lyrical content and whatnot, just a brilliant Halloween track, in my opinion.
And we used to have a medley where we blended it with Lonesome Boatman. I remember you'd come up with that idea. And I remember we played it with Turi. You and I think it was just the three of us. We played it for the first time at the Beverly Pub. And I think it was Mike Martin came up and said, "So what was that? Lonesome Ghost Riders and the or something." He pegged,
yeah.
He got what we were doing right off the bat, but he came up with some kind of amalgam title for it. But yeah, I love both of those pieces. I think are fantastic.
Let me just stop you right there. So Chad just mentioned the song Lonesome Boatman. If you look up the Furies, Fueyrys, the Furies and Davy Arthur, if you look up that thing, that is a great Irish piece that could also be in this listing, in this Halloween spooktacular, this show. Again, it's a haunting melody and it's a beautiful melody and it's so well performed. So don't overlook that. Sorry, Chad, go ahead.
No, that's as usual. What happens? Our list gets longer as we're talking. So, but yeah, this one, John Lennon, he put out an album called Walls and Bridges in the mid '70s, like right before he went into his retirement period. He had like a 4 or 5 year period in the '70s where he wasn't working. I mean, he wasn't recording, he wasn't touring or anything. He got back together with Yoko and they had their son, Sean. So right before this period, he did this album called Walls and Bridges, where he was kind of starting to clean himself up. He was coming out of this, he later referred to as his lost weekend period, where he was separated from Yoko and he was just kind of off the chain and not really behaving himself for the most part. And there was a really messy record he recorded with Phil Spector called Rock and Roll, which was just him doing a bunch of rock and roll covers. Partially was a legal obligation thing to get out of trouble for ripping off You Can't Catch Me by Chuck Berry. So part of the agreement, the out-of-court agreement they had was that he'd record a cover of You Can't Catch Me, which he did for that record. But then he came back around and he's parted ways with Phil Spector, thankfully, and did this record, self-produced it, amazingly. Although I understand Jimmy Iovine was there. I don't know to what extent he was producing, but Walls and Bridges is an incredibly underrated record for John Lennon. You don't often hear, I mean, apart from the song Whatever Gets You Through the Night, which they play on the radio a lot, which is his duet with Elton John, which is also a great song. There's so many great songs on this record, great Lennon songs that you don't really hear on the radio very often. One of them is this one, a song called Scared, which is this great groovy, slow burning song with a horn section in it. And it's just excellent. It's like one of his best songs, I think. And it's he's singing about he was just terrified being alone because he hadn't yet. He was just about to reunite with Yoko, but he hadn't yet at the point he wrote this song. And so he was just singing about being terrified about being on his own. He didn't trust himself to take care of himself on his own. It's a really, really great song.
I must give that a listen. I'm not familiar. So now I'm just going to go way off. I put this one on here. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we are Blaggards from Houston, Texas. I have to tell you that because we have a weekly podcast called SlapperCast. It can be found wherever you get your podcasts. Wow. Anyway, on our last podcast, it was episode 348. We were talking about favorite songs to perform. So I'm putting this song in there for no particular reason except I thoroughly enjoy playing this song with Blaggards. We perform it every time we play, and it's a band called Thin Lizzy out of Dublin, Ireland, and the song is called Running Back. So if you imagine yourself scared and lonely, and that could be a Halloween song because you're running back to the one that gives you great comfort. But the song is one of these classic rock tunes that never gets old, in my opinion. Scott Gorham plays an amazingly, he's not Gary Moore, he's not John Sykes, he's not Brian Robertson, he's not Eric Bell, and thankfully he's not Snowy White. He's just the meat and potatoes in Thin Lizzy. You know, he and Brian Downey, easily the longest Thin Lizzy members. He's just masterful in this, and this song is so beautifully put together. A Phil Lynott classic. It is Running Back, and it has to be on this because I enjoy it so much. Chad, what you got? Back to you.
Yeah, I'll just add really quickly. Scott Gorham, I think a lot of the times he's playing rhythm. Scott still plays lead lines, but they're so rhythmic. A lot of the stuff he does, and that song especially is a great example of that. This is sort of like circular kind of motion that he does in his riffing that's so distinctive, and I love that about him.
Yeah, to me, when you put Gary Moore and Scott Gorham together, that to me is the most, the furthest apart as far as Shredder versus the soulful note playing thought, just side by side. They are, the contrast is amazing. It's breathtaking. However, it worked. There's no question. So we could talk about Thin Lizzy all day, and we should talk about Thin Lizzy all day, every day, but we digress.
We should.
Moving on.
This one I had a hard time. I knew I wanted to put a Sabbath song in this collection of songs, and there's so, like I was joking earlier, you could close your eyes and just on a list of Sabbath songs and just pick any of them, and they would fit for Halloween. But the one I chose was NIB, the song with an acronym which nobody really knows what it stands for. Something in black, or what was it? Like nativity in black, I think is what's often is cited, but it doesn't really matter. It's a song about Satan falling in love with somebody and basically reading a love letter to the woman he's in love with. It's just it's a silly, fun song in the vein of a lot of the stuff they did, where they're using those dark occult themes. But the bass line in this song is so freaking cool. And there are a number of the early Sabbath songs that I think had the biggest influence on me as a bass player. But this one, we've never covered it. We've messed around with it in rehearsal and jammed on it a few times, but we've never actually played it live. The bass line in this song, I think, is the one that has informed me as a bass player, I think, more than any other, certainly any other of Geezer Butler's lines. But it's just so iconic. And almost all the tricks that Geezer was known for, he does in this song. And it's just really, you can't go wrong. I mean, come on, it's NIB, it's Sabbath, and it's Halloween.
I got to give you that. I growing up in Ireland, Black Sabbath were unavoidable, thankfully. Anyway, and again, I would go, again, staying in the basic, in the meat and potatoes rock and roll, in the foundational, the birth of heavy rock. I'm just going to go with the Highway to Hell, AC/DC. Every single time, every single album, they do the same thing, and it's great. So like them or hate them, AC/DC, Highway to Hell, it's Halloween. Guess what? And I'm going down all the way. So there you go. Easy one.
It's great stuff. All right. So this one I had to kind of pick between the original and the cover. And I decided to go with the cover because it is actually, I think, one of the best covers that anybody's ever done, where the cover is actually better, I think, than the original, although I love the original too. I don't know. It's not to put the original down, but Memories Can't Wait by Living Colour, which is their cover of Memories Can't Wait by Talking Heads off of their album Fear of Music, which is one of my favorite albums of all time. And Memories Can't Wait, the original, does have a really spooky, the whole album has this kind of spooky atmosphere to it, even though there's nothing really strictly Halloween-y about anything that they're singing about. But there's a lot of weird noises and things like that in the original of Memories Can't Wait. But the thing about their version of the song that just kills me is the drums. Will Calhoun, I think, is his name. The drum fills that he does in this song are just absolutely amazing. And I think,
can we never use the word Halloween-y again, please? Thank you.
Anyway, the drum fills on this, you'll hear it when you just listen to what the drums are doing on this track. It's just it's ridiculous. It's so good. But yeah, I love this track. And this was on their first Living Colour's first album. The whole album is amazing. When I first heard this, I was like, oh my God, that is amazing. And being a huge Talking Heads fan, as big as I was at the time and still am, I think that's the best Talking Heads cover anybody has ever done. And probably, like I say, it's one of my favorite covers of anything that anybody's ever done.
That is saying something. Well, I got to tell you, I saw them perform on TV, but I mean, I saw them perform on Jimmy Kimmel recently. And Corey Glover's voice has not aged. That band has not aged. They are as tight and as ferocious and as brilliant a live act as there is going around. Living Colour, great band.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Yeah, I'm going to go with a more recent band. And again, I don't even know what the correlation to Halloween is with this, but the song is called He Is. The band is Ghost, and the production and the melody and it just dawned on me why I'm putting it in the melody haunts me, and it not haunts me as in a stay awake at night and grab the sheets and hope nothing bad happens. No, it sticks in my head and gets in my soul and my bones, and it's the melody is such that it can, the difference between an earworm and I just imagine it's the difference between an earworm and falling into an abyss. The music takes me into a completely different state of mind, and the video is tremendous. And like I said, the production, the harmony, the melody, the overall, just the song in general, it's a masterpiece. He is my ghost. That's all I got.
It's good call. Good call. All right, this one is probably something that nobody was expecting. It's a song called Still Falls the Rain by Roxy Music. And again, kind of a deep cut. It's a really interesting song because it anybody who's a student of Bowie and Roxy Music will know that Brian Ferry and Bowie borrowed from each other quite a bit, especially in the late 70s, early 80s. But this one track in particular, I'm not sure who influenced who, but there's a little bit of, I can hear shades of Bowie's like Young Americans and a little bit of Looking Forward to Let's Dance a little bit. It's particularly the chorus parts of this song. The song is about Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. And it's an internal dialogue, the famous, Halloween story of it. Dr. Jekyll, of course, takes this potion to turn himself into Mr. Hyde, which allows him to indulge in all his baser instincts without, having to take responsibility for anything he does when he's being, bad. And in the original story, eventually the potion that he takes to turn into Mr. Hyde takes over. He starts turning into Mr. Hyde against his will. And eventually Mr. Hyde takes over his entire personality. And Dr. Jekyll kind of fades away. So in this song, verses are Dr. Jekyll. The choruses are Mr. Hyde. And Dr. Jekyll's kind of like, he's like being very analytical and trying to, he's not really making sense. He's kind of, you can tell his thoughts are kind of unraveling already. And then he gets into the chorus and it's this upbeat, rocking thing where Mr. Hyde comes in and is like, hey, don't worry about it, man. Let me just give me the keys. Give me control. Let me steer this car. I'm going to take control of this thing. And trust me, I'm the person who needs to be in control of this body. You just step aside and don't worry about it. I think Brian Ferry he wasn't trying to do a direct reading of the original story. It was more like he was using it as a metaphor for trusting oneself and kind of finding one's confidence in a way and surrendering to your inner self instead of overanalyzing things. But I think it's a fantastic song, whether you listen to the lyrics or not, but you should.
Interesting. Okay. Hi, everybody. I've upgraded my flight on Spirit Airlines. I'm now in first class. It's pretty nice. Got a place to myself. Yeah, flying is fun again. Well, I'm going to go in again another direction. I'm going to take a song off. The song that I'm taking off my list is a song called Satan in a Thong. It's by Unknown Hinson. And it's a very, very fun. I wanted to put something country on there. I just like a really classic country sounding song. But I'm going to replace it with another one that's just like Highway to Hell, Fear of the Dark by Iron Maiden. All these ones that could easily make any Halloween list. I'm going to put on Bark at the Moon by Ozzy Osbourne. Why? Because Jakey Lee, the guitar player that played on that record, that played on that tour that I saw in Dublin in the SFX Hall, and the solo that he played on Bark at the Moon was so precise, so blistering fast, so incredibly melodic, even at that speed. And the song is just dripping with 80s all over it. It's just, it could not be any more 80s if it was, I can't say this on the radio, but let's just say, I guess, fornicating in an alley or something. I mean, it's just it's a rocker. It is, Jakey Lee is just, he just doesn't get enough mention. When you talk about great shredding guitar players, great rock and blues guitar players, Jakey Lee doesn't get enough credit. And that song, Bark at the Moon, it's really difficult to find a song that's as Halloween, that's as appropriate for this list than Ozzy Osbourne's Bark at the Moon with Jakey Lee playing his arse off.
Excellent.
I got two more. I was telling my lovely daughter about this list, and she said that she's amazing. Her musical tastes go from Rammstein, which again, a lot of their stuff could be on this list. Her musical tastes go from, people can't see, but I have the Godfather of Horror on my shirt. His name is Barry Gibb. He played with a band called the Bee Gees. They wrote such horrific tracks as Staying Alive, Night Fever, More Than a Woman, Sticks in Space. I mean, this guy was the master of horror. No, I'm just kidding. But she and I have very, very musical similarities in our collections. Well, she told me about Dead Man's Party by Oingo Boingo. And I looked it up, and I was like, why did I not show her? I'm upset with myself. That should be a song that the parent gives to their child. But no, she gave it to me, and I'm just floored by it. And it's perfect for this list. Also going to say Phantom of the Opera. My musical journey started very, very early. My mother will say it was in the womb, and she would listen to Elvis Presley and Johnny Cash and Slayer and no, maybe not. So I started listening to that. My father would listen to the Wolf Tones, Clancy Brothers, to Paddy Riley, the Dubliners. Just this Irish, over here they call it rebel music. At home they'd call it music. But so I had this blend of rockabilly, rock and roll, mixed with all this what we call over here rebel music, and it's then my music ear really picked up when I heard bands like the aforementioned Black Sabbath, Iron Maiden, Saxon. It's just, that was where I was kind of, but then I also loved the ska, the ska movement, the punk movement, the new wave. I just loved all of it because it just, some of the best music ever made, arguably. But Phantom of the Opera was one of these kind of prog rock numbers that a lot of Iron Maiden fans would argue that Iron Maiden and Killers were some of their best work. However, I kind of stepped on when Bruce Dickinson took over lead vocals. But Phantom of the Opera, again, it perfectly fits this listing because of not its content, but Paul Di'Anno, the late Paul Di'Anno, an amazing vocal performance on this. I love it because it's not that operatic, that stuff that became huge in the 80s. You couldn't release a rock record without having somebody trying to shatter your wine glasses by, hitting those notes. And we just, but Phantom of the Opera was one of those ones. It was just an incredible piece written by Steve Harris, their bass player and founder. And musically, it has everything in it. And my mother, she would hands down say that would be her favorite Iron Maiden track. And she had no choice but to listen. You've heard the people say, when I listen to whatever band they listen to, so do the neighbors. Well, my poor mother, I put her through hell listening to the volumes that I listened to those records at. I often tell the story of coming home from school one day in South Dublin and coming down the road, and I still had a fair clip to go before I reached the house, but I knew it was mine, but I heard my Live After Death double album being played on a stereo at an extreme volume, and my detective senses overtook me, and wait a minute. So I'm coming home from school. There should be nobody else at home, even though I do have 5 sisters and 2 brothers. Who could be listening to that record? And nobody's allowed to touch your records. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this is 1980 something. You're not allowed to touch anybody's records. All right? You can dig up their grave. You can set their house on fire. You cannot listen to the records. No. So anyway, I walk in the house, and Phantom of the Opera is playing on the turntable, and the only person in the house is my mother. I said, "What are you doing?" And she looked at me like I had 2 heads. She goes, "Listening to me." And anyway, she found that, went through my record collection, found that song, played it at unbelievable volumes, and I could not, and am not, this proud of anything else in my entire life. She just a brilliant thing. So Phantom of the Opera, the original, with Paul Di'Anno singing, on the first Iron Maiden record, self-titled, And it's a brilliant tune. And that's probably way too much of a story to go along with the song. But here you go. It's Halloween. Guess what? We're long-winded because it's a spooky time of year. And we could not be happier doing this for the Whip Radio. Auntie Laurie, we love you.
We love you. Thank you for having us once again.
Yes, this has been a joy.
And thank you for listening, y'all.
Yes. And we are Blaggards. If you're interested in some Irish rock, blaggards.com, blaggards.com. And we have a weekly podcast called SlapperCast, available anywhere that they do podcasts. So delighted to do this, and hopefully you've heard something now that you didn't know before, and check it out. And hopefully we can do this again soon.
All right.
Cheers.
Hello, amigos, amigas, muchachos. This is the first part of the trip. What trip? Blaggards Worldwide Tour of Ireland 2025. Why do you ask? Like to invite you to stop in on any one of our social media pages and check out the progress, see if we have been kicked out of the country yet. This is the beginning of the journey. I'm going over first, make sure everything's set up. I go see my beautiful mother and my wonderful family. Like I said, this is part 1, Blaggards Worldwide Tour of Ireland 2025. Make plans for 26, blaggards.com. Check in and see us. We can't wait to see you all very, very soon. Cheers.